Welcome to Think Smart with TMFG. I'm Mike Connon. This is John Iaconetti, financial advisor with the McClelland Financial Group of Assante Capital Management. So, John, today I call this one, they sure don't make things like they used to.
Yeah.
And I was out this morning, and as I talked about before, I have a new place and it has a bigger lawn. And when I got this place, I had this old lawnmower that my dad had bought.
Yeah.
And he bought it when we moved to Canada. We moved to a Caledon area, and he went and bought this lawnmower, and it was a wheel horse. This was 1986, 87. And I wasn't using it. The cottage didn't have anywhere. We're sitting underneath just a drop cloth outside for about 5 or 6 years. And when I got this place, I was going to buy a lawnmower. I figured, let me go see if this one works. So I went to put some new gas, started up, and it ran just fine. And been using it ever since. I've been doing all the plowing with it, doing everything with this old mower. And I had to get a piece fixed today. But I'm thinking, as I go to get this stuff done, I see these ones in Home Depot now. You can buy a lawnmower for almost nothing now. I think a ride mower is like $1,500 or something. I remember in 1986, my dad paid $5,000 for this, which was a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's 40 years later, and it's still being used. So there's been a big change in the quality of goods and how long they last. And, today let's discuss if it's a good thing or a bad thing or how it works.
Yeah. I'd say it's a little bit in between, obviously, because there's, I'm sure the quality, like you mentioned, of what was purchased in the 80s, a lot more steel and aluminum and, solid parts that has gone into it. And I'm sure if you're going to go buy a lawnmower today, a lot more plastic, a lot more degradable, I guess, in terms of the quality.
But I do fill my gas tank twice while I'm mowing my lawn. So efficiency is something that went out the door with the quality, I guess.
Yeah.
Ben in our office has been doing a renovation in his house.
Yeah.
And, he comes back and talks to me about things. And it was funny. He was talking about changing his oil furnace in his house. And it's a big job to move out and move from an oil furnace and get your whole house converted.
Yeah.
But his oil furnace was over 50 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And it was still working. He could have just got it fixed and kept on going. So he's moving to a gas furnace. And, the likelihood of a gas furnace is they'll last, I think I looked up, it's like 14 years.
Yeah.
So you're replacing a furnace that's worked for 50 years with a furnace that will last for 14 years.
Yeah.
So it's a real change. But again, it's more efficient.
That's exactly it. And I think that's where the big push has been going, staying on the house appliance, landscape, fridges as well are going to be more focused towards energy efficiency. But at the same time, you buy a fridge now and you're expecting to replace it in 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
Same thing with, you talked about a furnace, but even with a washing machine, with anything else that's going to be within the home, so a huge focus is going towards energy efficiency, but it comes with a trade-off.
So I made a list. I went and looked this up. So I went to a few things. I looked at fridges and furnaces, and it's funny. Like furnaces are odd because they'll say 15 years unless you live in Canada, and Canada can be quite wearing on a furnace. I know even it depends where it's placed in the house. If it's somewhere, if your basement's damp, or if you have a very dry, easy location that can last longer. If you put in a damp basement, you might not get 15 years out of it. So we have a list here. So let's go through this list. Stoves, how long are they?
About 13 to 15 years.
Gotcha.
For the electric, at least.
For electric. And gas are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
10 to 18 years.
Yeah.
And, gas stoves, it's funny, I always go into stories here. I grew up in New Jersey, and when I was growing up, my dad went, and he was in construction, and he brought home this stove for our house. And it was a big commercial type of stove. Mm-hmm. It was this big gas stove. And at that time, my mother was the envy of all the neighbors because it had side-by-side ovens. It had 2 ovens on each side. And being from Ireland, all the English people will appreciate this. You could cook your roast and have your Yorkshire puddings done at a different temperature and have everything ready at the same time. So it was almost perfection. That was back in the 1970s and 1980s. I went back to that house about 5 years ago, and I was walking by, and I saw a guy who owned it. Mm-hmm. Same guy who we sold it to, and much older, but he recognized me. He says, "Hey, you look just like your dad when I bought it from you." Yeah. So he brought me in and gave me a tour of the house, and they had done everything. The house was beautiful, all remodeled, looked nothing like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I walk into the kitchen, the stove is still
there.
After 40 years, he still has the same stove. I said, "How do you still have the same stove?" He goes, "It works great, and my wife loves it because nothing else works like these things."
Yeah,
so,
I can imagine, yeah.
Other items we had, dryers. How long do dryers last?
Right now, on average, about 13 years, either for electric or gas. Yeah.
Refrigerators.
14 years there.
Yeah. Garbage disposals.
12 years, so a little bit shorter time span.
Freezers.
That can go anywhere between 10 and 20 years, but pretty wide span there. But You're more to the shorter side.
Yeah, I got the short. I've replaced a freezer before.
Yeah.
It's not replacing the freezer. It's when the meat rots after.
Yeah.
It's when you
That'll do
realize it needs to be replaced. It's awful. It's like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Washing machines,
About 11 years for washing machines.
microwaves,
This is where we're getting a little bit shorter term. Microwaves are about every 9 years now.
and dishwashers.
Same thing, about every 9 years. In the dishwasher, I find, part replacement much more frequent than that. It
Yeah.
seems like every 2 years or so.
Yeah, and it almost gets to the point now where the one thing we got to mention too is things are a lot cheaper than they used to be.
That's correct.
Again, when we get into these things, something like a dishwasher used to be a big investment for people. Dishwashers are probably like $700-800 now.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but it's they were $700-800 30 years ago when you made a lot less money.
Yeah.
So the price has obviously come down in those things. We're talking about roofs. Roofs go about 20 years. Roofs are interesting to understand. So I learned this the hard way because when I got a roof about 20 years ago. There was a mistake in the shingles about 20 years ago on roofs. Somehow they tried to get very environmental.
Yeah.
And I may be wrong here, so I do have some clients in the roofing industry that may correct me. But they were using some type of paper environmental products in the roof and shingles, and it didn't work in Canada.
Gotcha.
And their 20-year roofs lasted about 10 years, and they were all falling apart. The one part about the guarantee, that every shingle you buy has guarantees. They're 20 years and 25 years, and you can buy any type of guarantee on them. The thing that people don't realize is there's two parts to the guarantee. Number one, it's only the shingles. The most expensive part about doing the roof is not the shingles.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If you ever try to do a roof, you realize that the shingle is the easiest part of it. So you may get a guarantee on the shingles, but that doesn't do you a lot of good. And also, they're prorated, sort of like tires. So it means if you've had them for 10 years, their span was 20 years, they'll only cover them for half of that. So
Gotcha.
A lot of times your guarantees, by the time they're going, if they go 15 years out of 20 years, you're not getting much better. You might have spent $5,000 on a roof. You may get $500 back on your guarantee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't pay too much. Use the best shingles you can, but don't think that because you bought a 25 or 30-year roof shingle, you may not have to touch your roof for 30 years.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it really comes down to, going back to what you said, Canadian winters, like understanding where we are or where the obviously roof's going to be located. And that kind of leads into even the next section that we want to talk about was going to be cars. The average car lifespan now closer to about 300,000 kilometers, which ends up being about 10 to 12 years. Again, huge factor is going to be where you live.
Yeah.
Because being in Canada now, rusting becomes an absolutely huge issue just based on the rough winters that we have, as well as salting of the roads and things like that.
Yeah. It was funny when we were young. Cars used to have the odometers in cars back in the 70s. They didn't plan a cars make it over 100,000. They were miles at that time, but they wouldn't go over 100,000 miles, so your odometer would actually turn over. So you never knew if a car had 60,000 miles or 160,000 miles, but you assumed it'd be dead if it had 160,000 miles. And cars actually do last a lot longer.
They do.
They're pretty good. They're pretty efficient. The rust issues, and I don't know if you're going to find the cars nowadays 40, 50 years from now, like the classics that you see.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's very hard to restore a car now. Like the old cars were pretty simple.
Yeah, exactly. With the technology, as things begin to overcomplicate, you get a car now and it's essentially you're driving a computer. Realistically, and how complicated they are. So
I guess the issues we run into is we'll call it a new disposable type of attitude toward creating things. It's not created to last your lifetime. It's going to be disposable. And I guess the whole recycling factor and all that is, you used to have your furnace for 50 years. Now every 10 years you're throwing your furnace into the dump.
Exactly.
Hopefully they're recycling and they can take care of that. But it creates a lot of waste in those areas.
Yeah, and we've seen this not only in just household items, but from everything, from even the fashion industry. Clothes aren't made to last like they used to. It's fast fashion. Like there's a lot of different things that play a role in this. And to your point, Mike, that is going to become an issue at some point in terms of how things get disposed, how things get recycled, how things get reused. And from our standpoint, from the financial standpoint, this is something we've always factored into financial plans, maybe not clothing, but maybe more towards, the financial plans as a whole for house repairs and having that come up a little bit more frequently than it used to.
Yeah, because budgeting isn't really easy anymore,
No.
right? You can't go and take 1 month and say, I'm going to go and multiply by 12. That's how much I'm going to spend in a year because these are lumpy expenses.
Oh, yeah.
And there's become a lot of lumpy expenses. And our biggest thing is everyone goes, well, this is my expense. This happened this year, but now it's done. It won't happen again next year. Well, that's not going to happen, but we haven't thought of the other things that are going to happen.
Exactly.
They haven't put into. So because we do financial plans for everyone, we see these. We know that your roofs are going to need to replace it. We know the cars are going to need to be replaced. We know that houses are going to need to be. People don't think of it. Houses need to be painted.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Landscaping. Landscaping is a big one. Every now and again, they need to update the landscaping. We have people even meeting with a client when their retaining walls is gone. It would be $20,000, $30,000 to fix a retaining wall.
Yeah.
And it depends on the properties you live in, where you're going, but that's something you have to take into consideration. Generally, I say 1% to 2% of the value of your home. So if you live in $1 million home, figure between $10,000 and $20,000 every year has to go into doing one of those lump sum type of items.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, owning a home is expensive. Maintaining the upkeep is going to be expensive. And it's, okay, now how are you going to be prepared to fund these things as they come up? And that's one reason why we always preach an emergency fund, having something available just in case, that you don't have to tap into an investment if and when the markets could be on the other side. But another big thing that we always preach is being able to use a line of credit, a home equity line of credit, let's say, to help with the upkeep of the home and to deal with one of these major expenses and pay it off monthly.
The nice part about that is you sort of keep a line of credit to Matt. You know what your biggest expense would be, right? So, like, let's say it's your roof, could be $40,000, and you assume that. So you want to have that available because you don't want to be, as you said, taking out your portfolio. All of a sudden, we have the market take a downturn and your roof is gone. You're not going to sit with buckets on your floor.
Yeah,
exactly. Some things just have to be done. So you need to just make sure where you sit in that and create that type of sinking fund.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to another week, the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.